lesson here tonight. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not what? I shall not. Okay. The Lord is my shepherd. Please, everyone, I shall not. Thank you. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Look, do you want? Do you want? Are you afraid? Do you suffer anxiety? Are you discouraged? Are you depressed? Do you want? What are you lacking? Because if that's us, then you know what? The Lord is not our shepherd. Because David said, if the Lord's your shepherd, you will not want. You'll have all of your needs met. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of what? Death. I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they what me? Comfort. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And this is what we're talking about tonight, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Some of the information that we've been gathering, I'll say it one more time, has come from that book, A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23 or something like that, by Philip Keller. Recommend you buy it. Recommend you read it. It's a very easy read. It's not real long. But he points out that the relationship with the shepherd is not only for today's provisions, but the relationship relates to, now this is a spiritual application, relates to eternity for the sheep, for the believer. The psalm began with, the Lord is my shepherd. And it ends with, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. What began as a relationship ends with a residence. What began in the pastures ends in the house. What began with provisions for daily living, every day, beginning and ending, ends with a permanence. A permanence. Anybody warm, stuffy? One. Stick your hand up if you're warm. All right, put them down. Put your hand up if you're cold. Yeah, nobody's cold. Jack, what are you doing back there? Huh? What, was it on heat? Oh, my soul, I want AC. Kind of a question was that? Okay. What do you have it set on? Just. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. All right. David is praising the Lord not only for his provisions today, but his provision for the eternal tomorrow in heaven. So we're really leaving the sheep here and kind of focusing on the spiritual aspect of this, not the earthly aspect of Psalm 23. We've spoken at length about the sheep's proclivity to fear and become anxious, which results in what? What happens to sheep when they are afraid and they're anxious and all worried? What do they not do? They don't eat. They don't drink, and they don't rest. And that makes for a unhealthy sheep, as it does us. When we are anxious and when we are fearful, because the Lord's not our shepherd, we're not looking at him that way, and we become this way. Same thing happens to us. We become weak because we don't rest. Spiritually, emotionally, we don't rest. We don't read our Bibles. Just guarantee you. Most people don't read their Bible anyway, but they dead sure not reading it when they are all emotional. It's a very hard thing to do, to read the scriptures when you're just distraught. Okay? And these things, fear and anxiety, add up to weak sheep. It causes sheep to look for greener pastures in search of the necessities. Think about this. The reason why that we do not experience God more supernaturally is because we never put him in a position to be supernatural. In other words, we have a money crunch, okay? I don't mean the church. I mean, individually. You run into a money crunch and you miss some work or whatever happens, but things get really, really, really tight. And the first thing we do, we stop tithing. You know why? Because we can't afford it. We stop our obedience to God in that area because in man's thinking, well, I can't afford it. And God is up there, I promise you this, God is up there saying, I will make sure that you can tithe. And before, though, that we put him to the test, as he asked us to in Malachi chapter 3, he said, prove me. Come on. Now, he doesn't say that very often in the Bible, but he does here. Prove me and see that I don't keep my word. So instead of going to him and saying, okay, I'm writing this check. I'm writing my tithe for this week. And I don't even know how I'm going to pay that bill next week. But I'm going to honor you first. That motivates God. And God says, I'm on it. I'm on it. And then guess what you see? You see something miraculous. You see something supernatural. You see something very out of the ordinary happen in your life. Why? Because you trusted the shepherd. And the shepherd says, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. I will never let you down. So before we allow him, like he's up there rolling his sleeves up, like, here I go. And then all of a sudden we turn and say, well, I can't afford to tithe this week. Or I'll just get that other credit card. Don't you get like them credit card things in the mail all the time? Applications. I'll just get another credit card and I'll just start filling it up with these things. I got to take care of myself somehow. And God says, no, you don't. I will take care of you. I'm the shepherd, for crying out loud. But we don't let him be the shepherd. We just take matters into our own hands. When he was ready to do something really special in your life, we rob him. We limit him, as Psalm 87, 88, 89, verse 1 says, I think, through there. You've limited the Holy One of Israel. We limit God. Tell you another way we limit him. And there's many ways, but just off the top of my head here, we'll be tired. And on Saturday night, we'll be really tired because we had to work. We don't normally work on Saturdays. We have to work. And not only that, we worked over on that night. And it's like, man, I have to get my rest, So I'm just going to have to not, and this is just an example here. I'm going to just have to miss church tomorrow morning because I'm exhausted. Man's thinking. God says, I got all the strength you need. But we don't put him to the test. We don't prove him. So what do? We just don't go to church on Sunday morning. Because I got to sleep, because I'm tired, and I got to go to work I got to go back to work on Monday. Instead of saying I'm exhausted, but I'm going to go to church anyway because that's the right thing to do. And then God says, I will bless that act of obedience and that act of faith and that act of trust in me, and I will give you the strength that you need. I see a lot of you looking at me strangely. I'm just telling you, we limit him because we get in tight spots. Instead of turning to him, to the shepherd, we say, I'll just have to fix it myself because we don't trust that he can or that he will. We know he can, we just don't trust that he will. And therefore, we limit our experience with him. Does this make sense? I'm going to park right here and I'll preach the rest of the sermon on it or the lesson right here. It makes sense, right? Yeah, we limit God because of our lack of obedience. Now, and again, I'll go back to what I said a few minutes ago. Look, and that's your business, right? That's your business. You don't owe me anything. This is not about me and you, right? Tonight's not about me and you at all. believe it or not, I so desire for you to see God. I so desire for you to experience a God that says, that God says, I want to be used. I want you to come to me and just lay it all on me and say, I don't know what to do. God says that's where I am at my very best, is solving things that you can't solve. Only we don't give him 2 seconds. And I feel that the majority of believers, whether that's 99% or 51%, it's not either one, but more believers than not never really experience God because we just don't like living by faith. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Talk about trust. Everybody's on their knees and they're standing up. There they are. There they are. Bring them up here, throw them into the fiery furnace. I'm a man of my word, Nebuchadnezzar says, and they're going into the fiery furnace. And God protected them. If they don't stand up, they never see the great thing that God was going to do in their life, right? If they kneel down like everybody else and say, well, we'll ask forgiveness and God will forgive us. Yeah, that's right. I mean, sure. But you never get to see the fiery furnace and the protection. Daniel in the lion's den the same way. We quit. We quit too soon. Somebody made a statement, something like this, one time, way back in my life. Heroes are just normal people that refuse to quit. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, heroes? Right? We would all say, absolutely. Well, what did they do that was heroic? They just said, I'm not going to bow down. I'm just not going to quit. And that got them in trouble, and God delivered them. Daniel, same thing. Now, Daniel has a little bit better resume. God's revealed more about him. Joseph, same way, but Joseph's resume was pretty good. He's a pretty smart guy. But all of these people, if you want to find the main characteristic in all of them, it's all one thing. I will not quit on God, and I will honor God regardless of what it costs me in this life. And they all saw great things. They all experienced God in a way that you want to and that I want to. Okay. Point number one. Talking about here, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. A continued belonging. I will dwell. The phrase relates to abiding with the shepherd, not the occasional light and sporadic, access to God. It's connecting. It's the John 15. The vine and the branches, and the branch cannot exist without the vine. It's abiding. I will dwell. The path is not one that passes by God occasionally, but lives with God. That's the point. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Sheep that are well cared for, they don't wander. Now, occasionally we've learned, you have one that just the brain rattles in their head too much, and it doesn't matter how well you provide for them, they stray, and they look for ways to go. We see that in people. But generally speaking, sheep that are well cared for, they relax. How many of you have ever owned chickens? Okay, Dickie? Anybody else? Heidi? I know, your hand went up. You scratched your head. Nobody else? Wow. My dad and my family used to raise them. When you got new chickens, you'd keep them penned up for, week or two. Why? You're teaching them that this is their home. And then when they get fed and they got a safe place to roost at night, they get into the hen house and chicken house and you shut them up, and well, they learned that, okay, this is my place now. Then you can let them out and they'll always come back and roost at the same place every night. Pigeons are the same way. Anybody ever had pigeons around here? We used to have pigeons. Used to have tumbler pigeons. You ever heard of a tumbler pigeon? It flies through the air and then it does a somersault, 2 or 3, and then picks up his wing and flies again, and then it just tumbles, just head over heels, called a tumbler. We used to own those, and when you would buy them, instead of raising them from chicks, when you would buy 1 or 2 or whatever you bought, same thing. You'd have to keep them penned up there for a week or 2, and then you let them go, and they fly all over the place, and they come right back to that place where they know is their home. Sheep are like that too. I mean, most sheep, they know a good thing when they got it. They're not really smart, but they know that I'm safe. I have everything I want to eat and drink, and I got protection. I got somebody watching over me. It's that guy right there, my shepherd over there. I'm safe here. They don't wander. Most of them. A sheep that has found a good shepherd stops looking for another place to belong. And believers are the same way. When you really engage with your shepherd, talking about Jesus now, there's no reason. There's no reason to wonder. There's no reason to go try this out. There's no reason to take time off. No, that's where your peace is. That's where your happiness is. That's where your provisions are. So you know a good thing when you see it. Neglected sheep wander, but satisfied sheep dwell. All right, point number 2, a continued fellowship. The house of the Lord, focusing on that. In David's day, the house of the Lord was the tabernacle where the presence of God dwelt. All right? For believers today, what's the tabernacle of God? Us, right? It's our bodies. This is the house of God. Our bodies, being the tabernacle of the Lord, experience the presence of God continually. It is living in conscious fellowship with our shepherd. He's there. You don't have to find him. You don't have to go to a special place. He's right here. He lives inside the believer. So there is a continued fellowship there for eternity with the believer because God dwells in us. Keller's observation about this says the home ranch where the sheep lived from late summer to late spring was a place of safety, rest, intimate care because it was home. For the believer, we dwell in his presence and will dwell with him in heaven forever. It's about living aware, living in such a way that you're aware of God, walking with God and resting in God. It's a continued fellowship that begins the day that you get saved, that is available. For the believer, eternity is really right now. It's really right now at 7:30, and everything past that. That's eternity. We're living in eternity now, right? We're already living in it. I mean, but when we think of eternity, we generally think of eternity in heaven, and that's fine. But there's no reason why Jesus can't be our king now. He will one day be the king of the earth, ruling from Jerusalem after the tribulation for 1,000 years, and then after that, after another great war and a couple other things, forever. But he can rule in your hearts now. The king can rule in your heart now. And you have the good shepherd now that lives in you through the Spirit. The Holy Spirit is referenced to the Spirit of Christ, because God is 3 persons and they all are one. So it is a continued fellowship that you can experience even now. The greatest blessing of heaven is not the place, it's the person. Can I give you some ammunition to shoot at me with? Get ready. I hear this all the time. I hear that somebody passes away and their husband, let's just take this as a woman, their husband passed away before them. And this is what people say. And I get it, but it is not, I don't think it's doctrinal. But they say, Well, you know what? They're happy now because they're with Fred. They're back with Fred again. And I thought, and I always think this. I don't say it, except I'm saying it tonight, aren't I? But I can trust you, right? And I always think, when they get to heaven, they may see Fred, but it'll be like, Fred, I'll catch you up with you in a little bit. I'm going to find Jesus. In heaven, they're not up there saying, oh, it's so great to be back with my spouse or my children or my anything that was earthly. Heaven is a different place. In the relationships, will you know one another? Yes, you will. Are you going to live together in heaven? I don't think you're going to. Because you know why? You're not, Heidi, you won't be the bride of Colin in heaven. You're the bride of Christ. And I'll tell you, we do this down here. We may kind of shun him down here once in a while, but there'll be no shunning him in heaven. Heaven's going to be so great that when you see your spouse and your loved ones that have preceded you, you're going to say, I'm so glad to see you, and we'll catch up later. Because I got to see Jesus. I have to see Jesus. That's heaven. And look, and what is all this stuff up here? What is all this stuff? We never had this down there, and God says, I know. And I'm infinite. And for eternity, you're going to be looking at me and saying, what's this new thing today? Because God says, God is infinite. So it means for eternity, we're always going to be learning more about Him and experiencing more things than we never knew. We never even had a shadow of it down here. It's something that is totally a God thing, and it's only in heaven. And God says for eternity, this is what it's going to be like. There's not going to be any routine. There'll be something new, things new. Now, and there won't be any day and night up there. So when I say day, just roll with me on that. It's going to be, words do not describe. And don't think that, well, heaven's where I get to just get back with my family again. You'll see them, I'm not glad, and we'll be happy to see each other. Don't get me wrong. I believe that. But I believe that the main source of our joy and happiness is going to be the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Good Shepherd. It's not going to be you and me. Dickie, sorry. I know you're thinking when I get up there, I'm going to run and try to find you. And yeah, I'm going to say, where's Dickie? And they're going to say, well, who's that? I said, he's that guy that's always running around going, woo, yes. And they'll go, oh, I know who you're talking about. He lives about 5 blocks down. It's not going to be that way. We're going to be the bride of Christ, and that is a whole different level of greatness that we only get a taste of down here. Continued fellowship. 3, a continued promise. Forever. Everything in this life has an expiration date. How many of you have things in your refrigerator that have an expiration date? I know I do. It's embarrassing sometimes when you go through it. Like, my goodness, that's been in here for 10 years? I don't know if we've ever found anything 10 years. Have we? Wow. Everything down here has expiration date. Days, right? Days, a 24-hour period, starts over. Life has an expiration date. I mean, one day we will all die if we're not raptured. Meals, we eat meals and we start a meal and we finish a meal. And you can go on. You're probably thinking of other things right now. But with God in heaven, we will no longer be affected by expirations. It is to live outside of time. Do you understand that heaven, where God dwells, is outside of everything here? It's outside of earth. It's outside of the heavens, meaning where the birds fly, the atmosphere. It's outside of the heaven where the stars are. You understand that God's heaven, the third heaven that's referred to in the Bible, is outside of all of that? And right now, it is true that New Jerusalem's going to come down. One day God's going to remake the earth. New Jerusalem's going to come down. But right now, God is outside of everything, saying, oh yeah, I see it all. I see it all. And there just will not be any, and I've already been there in this lesson, but there won't be anything like it outside of time. For the believer, death is not loss. It's the next chapter. It's the next chapter. For the believer, it's the great victory. For the believer, it's just the door that leads you into what we're talking about, into the very presence of the Good Shepherd. That's what death is. The truth there for point 3, the shepherd who walked with you on earth will welcome you home in heaven. And I don't know, my mind just can't wrap my mind around that. The greatness of that time. All right, point 4, a continual resolve. Now, here's the resolve on our part, right? Because of the continued belonging, because of the continued fellowship, because of the continued promise, there's a continual resolve. I will dwell. And this is a choice. This is a choice on earth. It is a choice that we make every day to dwell with the Good Shepherd. You don't have to, but it is a choice. And what is every day made up of? I'll tell you right now, every single day is made up of the same thing. It's making choices and living with the consequences, good or bad. That's what it is. That's what it is. So this is a resolve on our part that I will dwell. Oh, He wants to dwell with me, and He actually dwells in me, but there doesn't have to be a dwelling and a fellowship, and a belonging and a fellowship. None of that has to exist, though that's what He desires. It exists because we make a choice to make it so. We resolve to dwell with the Lord. The contrast there, back to our Sunday morning sermons, Jeremiah 6:16, thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. Compared to David says, oh, but I will. I will. I will dwell as tight as I can get, as close as I can get. I'm going to be one of them sheep on the inner circles. Look, I want to be like, hopefully our desire would be to be like Peter, James, and John. That was Jesus' inner circle of disciples, Peter, James, and John. And that should be our resolve, is to be an inside this, not just on the edge, if one of these squares is the boundaries, not just over here, no, to be square in the middle, to put yourself in the middle with Jesus, the Good Shepherd, and say, I will surrender to you, I will trust you, I will count on you, and when times of fear and confusion and not understanding and anxiety, I will turn to you, because you are the shepherd who would never do me wrong. Tonight's really a lot of motivation, inspiration, if you will. But as we leave this, I just want to try to inspire you to, or say the words that the Holy Spirit would use to inspire you. The shepherd provides the house, but the sheep must choose to stay. Now, when we get to heaven, that's not going to be the case. We're talking about now on this earth. So the series in a nutshell is this: the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. What does this mean? Provisions. We learned that in green pastures and still waters. What does it mean? Restoration. As God, for His name's sake, God restores our soul when we need the restoration. Number 3, it's guidance. He leads us in the path of righteousness for His name's sake. Provisions, restoration, guidance. It means protection. Number 4. This is what the entire psalmist is teaching us. Protection, yea, they'll walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Number 5, it means victory. The victory being that He has set a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. We don't worry about the enemy. We have victory over the enemy. We have power over the enemy. We have safety from the enemy as long as we are abiding with the Good Shepherd. Number 6, it's overflow. It's a life of overflow, meaning my cup runneth over. It's a continual running over. It's not, well, my cup's full, and that's a good thing, but I'm going to hit it a few times and it'll be less full. No, God says, you keep hitting it and I keep filling it. It will never not be running over. When we trust Him, when we follow Him. Number 7 is pursued. What pursues us? Goodness and mercy shall follow. And that word follow, we learn, means pursued. It means that God is pursuing you, and His favor, His grace, and His mercy are pursuing us every day. A promise of that. And it's permanence. Number 8 is permanence. Forever, as we just talked about tonight. Forever. You know what these 8 things represent? Peace. What else do you want? Provisions, restoration, guidance, protection, victory, overflowing, being pursued by the greatest things, God Himself, His grace, His mercy, and the permanence of it all. What else do you want? What else could you want? I don't know. But that is peace. Those 8 things wrap up. That's a great definition of peace. So, are you searching today for peace, for purpose, belonging? David clearly describes for us the answer to this searching that is in this psalm. This is where you find it. You find it in the Good Shepherd. It's not places. It's not people. It's not possessions. It is Jesus, the Good Shepherd. Are you choosing Him? Are you choosing to be near Him? Or are you wandering? Are you choosing His path? Or are you designing your own? Are you choosing His peace? Or just experiencing your own fears and anxiety and trying to figure out how best you can solve the issue? When you have a great, omnipotent, omniscient God, omnipresent God that says, I'm all about you. I'm not about anything else. I'm all about you and trying to get more people into my family. In other words, trying to get people saved. What more could you want? The Lord is my shepherd. This is the believer's privilege. I think the statement's there on your notes without blanks. This is the believer's privilege. I shall not want. This is the believer's confidence. I dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is the believer's expectations. Charles Spurgeon made that statement. So, for a couple minutes here, we're going to go to prayer. And let's just pray. Whatever the Holy Spirit's impressed upon you right now that you need to pray for. Maybe it's something you need to confess. Maybe you just want to praise Him in your prayer and just thank Him for, boy, I feel like I know more about you because of Psalm 23, and I'm just thankful that I have a shepherd that watches over me like you do. However the Lord leads you, just for a minute and a half or 2 minutes, let's go to Him in prayer and take advantage of that.